Line? Do you have any update for us on council actions?
Okay. So, the project that is known as Parker Estates, which is on Greenhurst Road, has been continued a couple different times because they have been wanting more information from the developer as they go along. So I think that the first thing had to do with drainage. He got that figured out, came back in, and then they started talking about the height of the buildings and the size of the buildings and all of that. So I think he's kind of decreasing maybe some of his density. We'll have to see what his new revised concept is when he comes back, but City Council keeps continuing the project so they can get more information. This next one was for an industrial building, so a rezone from BC to IL on 2912 Caldwell Boulevard. So it's, you guys approved or recommended approval, went on to City Council, and they approved it as well. So they were pretty happy with the elevations that were presented. And then there was a variance for a primary driveway to not have to be paved, and that was also approved. So that's it for the last City Council meeting. And then for staff communications, looking ahead to November, it's going to be one of those situations where the dates are not quite falling right, so then there would be 2 meetings in 1 week, so City Council on Monday and Planning and Zoning on Tuesday, so we're going to shift it to the next week. So the meetings in November will be scheduled for November 15th and November 29th. So then the question to you guys is, that's the week after Thanksgiving. Anyone know what their vacation plans are for Thanksgiving? We're going to need to know if we're going to have a quorum for November 29th. So as soon as you find out, if you could let us know, that would be amazing.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay. We have the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as drafted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, for public hearings, we're going to go to action item number 5 for real quick because it's getting continued. And I don't know if anybody is here for public hearing number 5, but we're going to knock this out real quick. So we need a motion to continue it until the 23rd of August.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to continue public hearing number 5 for annexation and zoning to RS6 and BC zoning districts for Madison Ranch Estates subdivision. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay. Now we have public hearing number 1 for La Paloma Blanca subdivision. We have the applicant. Come on down.
My name is David Ferdinand, 2419 West Heron Loop. Madam Chair, Commissioners, I wasn't sure if Dan Lardy was going to be on first, but I think he's on just in case he may want to add some testimony. At some point in time, he had some things come up that he couldn't be here, so he appointed me. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. And Madam Chair and Commissioners, Dan Lardy of Levitt and Associate Engineers and I are representing a Nampa family, Oscar Diaz, and family members. La Paloma Blanca is currently an enclave property in Canyon County at 87 Happy Valley Road. This is a 2.39 acre parcel with a plan to their plan is to clean up the property, which includes a shop right now, a place to park work vehicles and materials, This area has changed over the years, even though it still has a country feel. It is more residential in nature now. And the family has been working over the past year to put a plan to improve their property and the neighborhood. Ignacio is one of the family members and is here with us tonight as well. He's put together a plan along with Levitt Engineering to create an 8-lot subdivision. And this would use 1.71 acres plus 5 common lots for landscape, utilities, roads, sidewalks, and setbacks. The average property size is 8,437 square feet for a single-family detached homes, which is 3.35 dwelling units per acre. The lots are contiguous to Happy Valley estates are 10,000 square feet. And if we've got the map, it's on the west side. There is the very top of this diagram will show you that there is an 11,000 square foot lot there because of the access to the sewer. So they needed a little extra room, which we would have to have a letter of variance to be sent to City Council for that. Nampa City Engineering is requiring the roads to be 44 feet wide. And it has about just a little over 10% open space. The 44 feet wide would allow for public sidewalk access to South Happy Valley Road. Also, a 50-foot public right-of-way is also being provided by the developer to comply with the section line width requirements. A 10-foot sidewalk will also be included on both sides of the entrance road. And the subdivision will have, of course, city water and sewer and city irrigation. And we're asking you to recommend approval of the annexation and zoning to RS7, single-family residential zoning district and subdivision preliminary plat for La Paloma Blanca subdivision at 87 South Happy Valley Road for Oscar Diaz, with all the conditions, of course, listed in the staff report. And stand for any questions.
I have one. Not being bilingual, what does it mean, the name?
La Paloma Blanca, I know a couple of words. The white dove. That's what I thought.
The white dove?
The white dove, yes. And I think this has to do with Oscar's wife. They wanted to make sure that they kept this, it's a real family project.
Good.
Yep.
Glad I asked.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Doug, you're up. Somebody at my front door.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Doug Critchfield with Nampa Planning and Zoning. So as was presented, I'll talk about a couple of the features of the site here. So the current uses around the area, around this parcel, there's an RS12 development immediately to the west. And then there's a church and RS12 zone property to the east. And then to the south, there's Columbia High School, and then to the north is County. These lots in the RS7 zone are going to be between 5,600 and 10,000 square feet. The lots in the RS12 development are about half an acre in size. So when we take a look at the comparison, it was necessary for the applicant, in order to achieve some compatibility, to make the 3 lots larger along that border per Nampa City Code. The comprehensive plan in this area is medium-density residential. The RS7 fits within that land use designation. The water system, as was mentioned before, is in place and will be brought to the site by the applicant. In terms of the annexation, the findings, it does meet the, per staff's analysis, it does meet the findings of the conclusions of law, in that it's contiguous with the city, that it does not create a spot zone. And then in terms of the timing, that's, of course, is up to the commission and the council as to whether that this is the appropriate timing for this development. It is an enclave property, and it has been prioritized in the comprehensive plan that enclave properties develop. In terms of the dimensions of the limitations of this RS7 zoning district, staff finds that this meets those limitations on all counts. And then in terms of the conclusions of law, again, the only conclusion that we had was number 2, where the single-family lots, there was a disparity in the lot size between the existing development and the current development. And again, with that lot size buffering, it should provide the necessary buffering between the RS12 lots in this development. So based on the surrounding land uses, we find that it again meets the criteria in the conclusions. In terms of the staff analysis of the preliminary plat, the green areas they meet the Nampa City Code requirements. The red areas here mentioned in this report, there's an open space plan that's going to be required that we'll ask the applicant to provide for the Nampa City Council. And then the letter that was mentioned will be written to the Nampa City Council, be provided to us, requiring or asking for a design exception for the 11,000 square foot lot. It exceeds the 10,000 square foot lot limit in this zoning district. There was no fencing plan provided, but that should be provided with the landscape plan. So we'll be asking the applicant for that information as well prior to the City Council meeting. We did receive some correspondence from the public agencies. It's standard language generally from the public agencies. 10-foot sidewalk, as was mentioned, will be required. There is also some cleanup that's going to be required on the site, and that'll happen prior to the development. And that's one of the conditions that we have in our conditions. And those conditions of approval are listed in your staff report. And with that, we have recommendations, potential motions for you. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to take those. Kim?
I have a couple questions, Doug. In the engineering memo, it mentions that the engineering division would prefer this access to be public rather than private. Is there a reason it's not?
I'd have to defer to Daniel.
Okay. I'll hold that one then. And then, am I reading this right, that they need to provide street light at the entrance to Happy Valley Road per the engineering memo? Okay. So it's like a full signalized? No. Oh, street, I mean, sorry, that was a dumb question. I got my eyes dilated today and I can't even think straight, so. I'm good. Street light's a pole light, not a traffic signal. Good one. Shut up.
Okay, I have the sign-up sheet here, and we have David Ferdinand 4, which is pretty good that you're for your project, so. Ignacio, and I can't read the last name. Pena, okay. And we have Eric Pearson. And you're also for. And you didn't, nobody is chosen to speak? Okay. Okay, is there anybody else present that would like to speak for or against or undecided on this? Okay, you have questions for the applicant?
I just was gonna ask why the public streets why the private streets rather than the public streets?
And I think our engineer is listening in. I know he's on there, so maybe we can ask him that question. And that would be Dan Lardy from Levitt Engineering. I know that the answer to the poll is you just missed that light pole
Got
that
it.
was in there. So I know, we talked about that today, and here again, we've got to go, the project has to go 44 feet. So when we originally did our first meetings, it was going to be 25 feet. Engineering wanted it to go 44. So and it may be that the private road was when they were doing the 25 feet. So that's why I wanted to clarify with Dan.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, commissioners, thank you. David, thank you for sitting in for me today. I really do appreciate it. So the private road was originally proposed. Today, well, when we got the staff report, we got the note that they would like it, or they prefer that it would be public. We have relayed it out. We got it laid out again. It looks very similar to this, except the lots along the west boundary. And let me see if I can share I don't know if I can share my screen. Let me try. Let's see.
I'm not sure we can access that. You might just have to use your,
Oh, yeah,
there we go.
Oh, is it up?
No,
No. How about now?
there you go.
Okay.
It's up now.
Okay, so we have laid it out with the 44-foot right of way because we agree that the condition is valid. So we wanted to comply with that. It did change that we don't need a design exception for this lot in the northwest corner. Apologize for my lot numbering. It looks like it's a little off. It was a hurried chance today. But we did go with the 44-foot right of way and made it public. And we will put we'll widen the sidewalk out along Happy Valley and put the street light in according to, and of course, we agree with all the conditions of staff. So with that, I can stand for any other questions. If hopefully that answered it.
Yep, thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay.
Well, one more, so did he say that that one lot got small enough, we don't need the exception anymore?
Yes, if, on the redesign, it looks like, as long as we maintain that 10,000 square foot lot size, we would not need the exception there.
And it's 10,100, so it's a slightly over. I don't know if the design exception still is required.
Doug, Dan, it sounds like Doug's shaking, it looks like he's shaking his head, even sounds like it. So it looks like we don't have to have that variance.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
any other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed. Okay.
Any discussion?
Nope, I think good project,
I like it.
Yeah, me too.
Infill.
That's good.
good infill.
Madam Chair, I move to recommend approval of annexation and zoning to RS7 zoning district for potential development agreement for subdivision preliminary plat for La Paloma Blanca subdivision at 87 South Happy Valley Road for Oscar Diaz, with all conditions listed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the annexation and zoning. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's approved, or going on. Okay, public hearing number 2 for Orchard Avenue for Nampa Church of the Brethren. Do we have the applicant here? You're the
Madam
applicant.
Chair, this is really a driven agreement between the city and the church. So it's a contractual agreement that they annex in. So there really isn't a applicant per se. It's a kind of a joint effort.
Okay,
So I can go ahead with the report if you wish, and we can
Okay,
ask the representative from the church if they have anything, any input, and go
Okay.
from there, if that's okay.
that sounds good.
Okay. So this is a annexation and zoning to RS6. As it says there, and in the engineering memo, the request for annexation is dictated by a right-of-way contract the applicant entered into on October 30th, 2018 as part of the intersection improvement signalization project. Part of that agreement was to hook up to city utilities and procurement of the right-of-way. And that they submit the application for annexation, which is why we're here. So that intersection has since been completed, and this is the next step. The surrounding zoning is RS6 with some county single-family homes as well. So the zoning fits the area. There really isn't anything else that shoots out. I can answer any questions if you wish, but I'll pull up a potential motion for you. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions? Okay, we have to open public testimony. I have one person signed up, Carlene Gage, and you said you don't wish to speak, but you're for the project, so. Anybody else that would like to speak for, against, or undecided? Okay. Entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move to recommend approval of the annexation and zoning to RS6 at 11030 West Orchard Avenue for Nampa Church of the Brethren with all conditions listed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's going on. Thank you. Okay, action item number 3, community mixed use to low-density residential for Wade Willers, Amity Storage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen, do you have an extra one for Karen?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, give us your name and address for the record and tell us what you're going to do, try to do.
All right. My name is Maximilian Byron. My address is 332 North Broadmoor Way, Nampa, Idaho, 83687. I'm here to talk about the Amity Estates project on Amity Avenue. Amity Avenue. Requesting pre-annexation, development agreement, and comprehensive plan map amendment. Okay. All right. On behalf of my client, I'm here to present and request approval for pre-annexation and development agreement for the Amity Estates County subdivision and a comprehensive plan map amendment from community mixed-use designation to low-density residential designation, which will allow for a future zoning designation of RS22 consisting of 1.04 units per acre. Oh, yeah, back one, yeah. Our site is located southwest of the intersection of Amity Avenue and Dewey Lane and is directly adjacent to Britannia Heights subdivision. Just to the west of the property sits 5 single-family homes on 1-acre lots. The subject property is approximately 28.9 acres and is located approximately 1.28 miles from the boundary of Nampa and is also located 1.43 miles from the Columbia High School. The subject property is located in Nampa's area of impact, and development is projected to occur in this area per the 2040 comprehensive plan. Here's a current zoning map and location of the subject property in relation to Nampa's current and projected growth. Since there is not a direct pathway to annexation, we are requesting a pre-annexation with a development agreement from the city of Nampa. This will also allow the property to be annexed into the city once there is a pathway to annexation, and it will allow the development to tie into city water. This utility request has been approved by the Nampa Board of Appraisers, and a letter of recommendation is included in the staff report. We are also requesting a comprehensive plan map amendment to support the development of an RS22 residential development. We feel like this will be a nice compromise between the existing low density and the city's future development plans for higher density. We're trying to meet somewhere in the middle, and we think this is going to achieve that middle ground. Future plans for low and medium density residential exists within Nampa's 2040 comprehensive plan adjacent to our site. As it stands, we believe a development agreement for a single-family residential subdivision at this location will aid the city in future growth and expansion along Amity Avenue. Because the property is located in county, we have been working with the planning staff over there to develop this project into a 30-lot, single-family subdivision with 7 common lots. And we have a video to display to you what we're proposing. There is sound if you, yeah. So as you can see from our video, we are dedicated and we plan on working with the city and the county in order to produce a very attractive residential development within the area. And if you go to the next slide, please. Now, the City Highway District, they have plans to improve Amity Road to a 3-lane roadway with bike lanes, sidewalk, curb, and gutter. Pictured here is a rendering of what this will look like. We have already started working with the city and highway district, and will provide 50 feet of dedicated right-of-way to the center line and make all improvements that are required by the city and the highway district. And we are also more than happy to be a part of the roadway expansion as well. One more. The approval of this pre-annexation agreement, development agreement, and comprehensive plan map amendment will benefit the city of Nampa and its residents greatly. This approval will prepare the land for future development by extending city utilities and providing ongoing coordination with the city and the highway district for the future expansion of Amity Road. And that's all I got.
We may have questions for you after we talk to staff.
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry, Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is all new stuff to me, So this is the overhead, this is the preliminary plat view of Amity Estates. This, again, 30 single-family lots and 7 common lots on this site. It is 28.9 acres. Currently, it's an agricultural and with a single-family home and some cropland in the area. It's surrounded by agricultural uses, 2-acre ag residential parcels. Britannia Heights is to the northeast of this site, and that's zoned R1. And the proposed county zoning that the applicant is seeking is CR-R1, which is a conditional rezone with residential uses. Again, this is a pre-annexation, so the water system is what the applicant is looking for. With a water system connection, the county allows lots to be reduced in size, and they'll work with Southwest District Health on the lot sizes. So the water system is available at Britannia Heights at 1,000 feet to the east of the property, and that'll be brought over. The city recommended to the applicant that they inquire with Britannia Heights to discharge their community system or to install their own private community system on the site, but the applicant indicated that neither one of these were feasible because of cost and the number of lots that they're proposing. And what they are proposing is the maximum allowable number of lots based on their nitrate priority area study that was completed for this site. And there is pressure irrigation at the rear of each lot that will be provided by an irrigation pump located on lot 1 of this development. Again, as was mentioned by the applicant, this will be a change to the comprehensive plan future land use map to allow for low-density residential rather than community mixed use. This change in density is consistent with what's happening in the area in terms of the type of development, low-density residential, rather than community mixed use, which is a more intensive type of use that requires commercial on the majority of the site with some residential or industrial use. So this actually reduces the density and the intensity of the site. In terms of the pre-annexation, there are three criteria that we look for. It has to be within the limitations imposed by the comprehensive plan. Secondly, it has to meet city standards, their proposal. And thirdly, the Napa Board of Appraisers has to recommend utility connections to the Napa City Council for us to be able to issue a letter of approval or support of the project from the city of Napa. They would also have to enter into a pre-annexation and utility agreement with the city prior to receiving that letter of approval. The RS-22 would be their future zoning that the application would be seeking. When they do annex into the city, that will be written into the pre-annexation agreement. That will allow lots between 17,600 and 32,000 square feet with a density range of 1.01 to 1.43 net on the site. In terms of the agencies, we did receive some comments from public agencies. The city is asking that we meet building department conditions in terms of their codes that are required for the building department. The irrigation district also is asking that they stay under the Napa Meridian Irrigation District restrictions. There were several comments by the engineering division, which is in your staff report. The community, we had one letter by Timothy Tyree, an attorney for V&L Ranches, indicating opposition to the project. The property that they're concerned about borders the south and east of this project. They cited that in prior years, the county rejected prior proposals desiring to protect agricultural land as part of their comprehensive plan, and that the soil is rated best suited or class 1 soil. There was concern about conversion from agriculture to residential uses. There was also some discussion about the nitrate priority area and concerns about traffic incompatibility and ag land preservation. So in terms of the comprehensive plan future land use map, it does meet the, around the property, it does meet the requirement of number 2 that an update to the same would have to be warranted in order for this to occur. So it would be up to the commission to determine whether this is a warranted change in the comprehensive plan based on the request from the applicant. And that our input to that would be that this does, again, reduce the density. It makes it a little bit more compatible with the existing land uses, and it's consistent with the growth patterns of the immediate area. So staff suggests recommendation of approval of the comprehensive plan future land use map change to low-density residential. In terms of the pre-annexation, we've cited several factors that would support number 1 and number 2 in terms of the findings, and that it does meet the density levels. The lot sizes fall within the city limits, fall within the limits of the comprehensive plan, and also fall within the RS-22 zoning designations. And then streets and landscape buffer, right-of-way, dedication, open space, all those meet the city standards and code requirements. The Board of Appraisers formally recommended utility connections to water on July 6, 2022, so that process has already been completed. So it appears to meet all the pre-annexation requirements. The conditions of approval are placed in your staff report. Again, those will also be in the agreement with the applicant should the council decide to approve this pre-annexation. And with that, our potential motions for you this evening. Be glad to take any comments or questions.
Any questions?
Doug?
Yeah.
The applicant showed a video. Was the video in compliance, not compliance, but it would be the same as the S22, RS22? Or was that made to look bigger, or you change it back to more lots? I'm
Commissioner
asking for the accuracy of what they showed versus what they can have.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Kehoe, this is the first time I've seen the video. It was just presented this evening, and it appears to show what's on the map. It looks like it was generated from that site plan that they're providing.
Yeah, Doug, just, well, no, I'll wait. I'll wait.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to go to public testimony. So if you want to speak, can come up. You have 3 minutes to tell us what you want to tell us. I'll give you a 30-second warning when you're getting close. And then when your time is up, I'll tell you your time is up. That way we keep it fair for everybody here. All right, so the first person was Maximilian, and so you're good to go there. And then I have Becky, and I will really butcher your last name. You're good? Okay. Colin Ronhar? Okay. And then Wade Willers, doesn't wish to speak? Okay, all right. And then. Okay, on the other side of the fence, against, we have Morgan Abrams. And you wish to speak? Come on up, give us your name and address and.
My name is Morgan Abrams. I live at 922 South Morgan Lane. It's off Amity. We own property directly west of the proposed development. I have a well, and I am very much concerned with their sewage disposal. It was presented to us that they were going to have septic tanks, and I am really worried about my water. I am actually not really wanting to be annexed to the city, and again, I am directly west of there, so I feel like that's coming right to me. I also think that we really need to take into consideration the growth of the Treasure Valley. Our schools are not able to keep up, our police, our hospitals, our EMTs, our fire, all of that stuff is really struggling because of the growth. If we maybe slow down the subdivisions a little bit, we will be able to speed up our growth of all those resources. So I'm super opposed to this. We've gone through this before, and I hope that you guys take that into consideration. Thank you.
You won't be annexed, they're only asking for their stuff to be annexed. So you guys would have to come before us in the same manner to get annexed into the city.
Well, that's good news, because I was led to believe that we were going to be annexed. Awesome.
Nampa doesn't force that right now.
Is there a chance that they will in the future?
They haven't, have they ever? Okay, never happened.
Awesome. Again, I was led to believe that that would be a thing, but also I really hope that we take into consideration how much we need to slow down our growth for the good of our community. Also, our agricultural land really needs to be kept as agricultural land. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but America, there is less than 2% of the population that is running the country as far as ag goes. That's production of food and other, well, basically food, drinks, that kind of stuff. So if we reduce our ag land, we are really going to hurt ourselves in the next 5 to 10 years. So think about that when you are deciding whether or not to make more subdivisions on fields. Maybe move them out to the sagebrush or something. I don't know, throwing that one out there. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Okay, and then we have Matt Abrams, doesn't wish to speak, but is on the record against. Tim Tyree.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, my name is Tim Tyree. I'm here on behalf of V&L Ranches. My address is 618 West Franklin, Boise, Idaho. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you again. You have my letter. I'm going to avoid repetitive testimony, so I'll let my letter stand, but I would like to incorporate it into the record by reference here. I want to make it clear my client is absolutely against this project. He'll come up and share his personal story here in a moment with his development, his experience in Boise, and why he's come out to Canyon County to bring his family into the farming community and hopefully protect his ag lands. We'll be discussing that here, but I do want to talk about the inherent problems of this project. The applicant came in and talked about how this is somewhere meeting in the middle in a concession component, yet you heard that they have maximized the number of lots. And then they did not tell the truth when he talked about the neighboring lots. Those neighboring lots are 2-acre lots. They're proposing lots that are even less than half of that. So this is not a project that is trying to meet in the middle. This is actually trying to maximize for their own profit on this. And you see that in their, the infeasibility of the sewage disposal. This is already a problem with nitrates in the area. Nitrates are going to continue to be a problem, and they're going to only be exacerbated by this project. The nitrates are going to add to the water, the deterioration of the water quality. You're going to get more bugs, West Nile virus, given the amount of growth that you've got out there and those water qualities. It is not, you really have to pay attention to the nitrate problems in this area. You look at the south boundary of this property, the south boundary of that farm lane, they have brought the property all the way right up to that. That is a critical boundary line for not only my client's property, but it provides the neighboring properties, and it heads all the way over to South McDermott Road. It ignores the historic need of those farmers in this area to be able to use that farm lane. They butted it right up. You look at South Dewey Lane, I recognize that it has to be from a highway district component, but now you're just going to drive traffic into that field, right? People are going to come right down there at the end of that South Dewey Lane, and they're going to be driving out in the fields. They're going to be creating problems with the farmer, and they're just insufficient buffers. They've created a buffer along the north road. Remember, this is Amity storage units who's making the application. What do we think that open space is going to be? Rather than laying out a project that actually creates buffers with the neighboring properties to the south and to the east, they put it all up there for a future development. Thank you very much for your time. I'll stand for any questions.
Nope.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair, members of the commission.
Okay, and the next person is Lou, and you didn't print your last name, so I can't read it.
That's a good bass name, Gerdio.
Okay.
This here. Madam Chair and Planning and Zoning, Lou McGurdio, 7373 South Maple Grove Road, Boise. My wife and I own the property adjacent to this proposed development. My oldest boy, it'll soon be the farmer there. He would have been here tonight, but he's actually out combining his grain. So I'm fully opposed to this project and ask you to deny this application. Let me share a real quick personal story. I lived and grew up on a dairy farm in Boise. I've seen the development come towards my operation. My wife and I work the dairy every day. The dairy is in the Boise City impact area. Over the past decades, developments like the one proposed tonight have encroached our way of life, and I can no longer operate my dairy safely. That's why I went to Nampa and bought ag ground to give my son a chance to farm like my dad and my granddad gave my dad to farm. I know firsthand that residential development and farming do not mix. I've been through this. Kids trespass through your fields. Neighbors dump their trash in your fields, in your ditches, trespass on your land, go out and load up your soil and take it to their gardens. It is just absolutely unreal from a farming aspect to have a residential development. You have three sides of ag. I'm on the south, east, and there's a parcel on the west surrounding this property. Please stay true to Canyon County's decision and please deny this application. Before I go, I'd like to stress also the importance of the nitrate priority area designation of this land. You're talking 30 septic tanks? Really? Water quality out there? Let's think about this a minute. Algae clogs drains, fouls control gates. and feeds mosquitoes to spread West Nile. These 30 septic tanks will dump more nitrates into an overloaded system. If you're going to let the developer develop this city, then make the developer use city services and require sewer service. Stand for any questions.
Question?
None?
No?
Just one?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Tyler Nunez. Well, you can correct me when you get up here, because I've tried not to mispronounce things.
It happens a lot. My name is Tyler Nunes. I live on 1192 South Morgan Lane. I'm the last house on that road on the south end. Fully opposed to this project, me and my wife. We have concerns of groundwater levels, groundwater quality. The septic and sewers concern us in the area. There is a known nitrate problem. There's a massive traffic issue on Amity, and almost nothing is going to help that besides being a full-on freeway, because there's so many people there now. They take as a side road anytime the freeway backs up or there's an accident or something like that. This is our community, our little home. Putting a huge subdivision behind us is just not something any of us are looking forward to. There's talk about trespassing and garbage and stuff from subdivisions, and that is a huge concern as well. Not to mention pets getting out, getting loose, getting in your yard that you never planned on. You also have concerns with crime. You have concerns with just not enough law enforcement officers maintaining law and order. And I'd like to keep farmland. There's a problem in this country right now with supply chain issues and food prices going up, and taking out good farmland to put in houses just does not seem like a good idea to me. I'm sure lots of people would agree. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have Barbara Nunes.
She's not here tonight.
Okay. Is there anybody else that's present would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this proposal? Okay. Why don't we have you come back up here, Maximilian, and we'll.
I'm going to defer to our engineer.
Yeah.
For the record, I'm Colin Ronhart, 332 North Broadmoor Way.
Take good notes.
Did the best I can. As far as rebuttal goes, the client and the applicant in this instance is coming forth with this application. This application is not the second application that was brought forth on this piece of land. This piece of land is owned by Amity Storage Units. A separate storage unit application was brought forth before this, before the county, back in, a while back. That was denied due to a incompatible land use. So they were trying to put storage units on that land. This is the second application for the land. It's the same owner coming forth with residential units, single-family detached units. With this RS-22 or the RS-22 designation that requires residential units. That won't be storage units, that won't be multifamily, that's single-family detached units. As far as sewer and septic goes, this is a nutrient pathogen area, nutrient priority area. The client has already gone ahead and had Atlas Engineering look at that, a geotechnical firm. We have assigned and stamped nitrite priority nutrient pathogen study, stating that the 30 lots proposed does not raise the nutrient levels above the threshold that is set forth by the Southwest District Health. And Southwest District Health has reviewed that study as well and signed off. As far as annexation goes, like you said, NAMPA does not force annexation. As far as water goes, NAMPA does not force city connection. So we're not forcing the neighbors in any way to be annexed. We're not forcing any neighbors in any way to hook up to city utilities. This is a separate entity. Big concern in the county right now is groundwater levels. A lot of people are concerned about their levels of their wells going dry and whatnot. Bringing in city water eliminates that. There will be no wells on this site. The only non-city water service will be irrigation, and we've got a surface water right coming off the lateral on the northeast side of that property. So there'll be a pump station and whatnot, but there will be no wells on this site. So as far as lowering groundwater levels, that's eliminated. As far as traffic goes, we're in immediate conversations with Nampa Highway District. We've been to their hearings a few times, working back and forth with them. There are conversations about a left-hand turn lane, whatnot. We are required to dedicate that 50 feet of right-of-way for the full width improvement of Amity in the future. They're requiring, as for us, if this proposal was to go through, a sidewalk would have to be constructed and whatnot. That full-length widening would happen at a later date, but we have to dedicate that right-of-way right now for that. Trying to think of other things, other concerns brought up, but I can stand for any questions. We can go from there.
Ron, did you have a question for the applicant, or was it for staff?
It was for staff.
Any questions for the
Yeah,
applicant?
the letter from Atlas, is that in the record?
I do not know if the report is in the record. Do you know if there's reference to the study in the staff report?
Madam Chair, there's reference to it, but the report is not in the staff report.
Have you seen it, Doug?
Something
Okay. What's the, in a while since I've driven by there, what's the land being used for now?
It's a vacant field.
What would it be used for if we denied this application?
It would have, it's
Well, I guess we
currently.
don't deny it, we recommend
Right,
it.
it's currently owned by Amity Storage Units. So I don't know if it would be leased to a farmer, it would be said barren. There's an abandoned house on it currently, a vacant house on it.
Is this that piece that was for sale for quite some time?
I am unaware. I'm not totally sure.
No, there was a sign out there, I can't remember exactly where, for quite some time. I was just wondering if it was the same piece.
Okay, no questions? Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Okay, you want to ask your?
Yeah, I was just looking at the comp plan, and there's a band of community mixed use currently. Probably anticipating commercial uses on the front on Amity as it's an arterial and alternative to the freeway to get to the city. So it kind of looks like, I just have a question for staff. When are we going to look at the comp plan again?
So Madam Chair, Commissioner Van Auker, we have a completed revision of the comprehensive plan. There's been a little bit of a stall to it as we've been reviewing it with different individuals, making changes. So we anticipate that this fall we'll have a revised plan. There are about 80 revisions on the plan. This area is included in those revisions. And the general consensus is that it will be changing likely to either a residential mixed use or low-density residential in this area. primarily because, again, of the nitrate issues that we have in some of these soils. The ability to get utilities to this area is limiting.
Is what?
It limiting.
Limiting, okay.
Yeah, so.
I do. Doug, normally when we get a subdivision that has septic systems and a septic system fails, they have to convert to city sewer. But this whole subdivision is going to go in with brand-new septic, so what is the criteria for that to get into city sewer system? Is there the same criteria? I mean, if something breaks, then they have to do it? Give me an update, please.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Kehoe, that is a function of the state plumbing code, that if a septic system fails and there is city sewer available within 200 feet or 250 feet, they are required to connect to the city sewer. That does not have bearing in this situation because there is not city sewer within that distance to
So
this
they can be
property.
on septics for ever?
Just like the other small or large acreage, acre to 5 acre lots that are in abundance west of Happy Valley or east of Happy Valley, that is the case.
Hold on. Can you explain, like, the challenge of getting services out there due to the nutrients in the soil?
So
Running a
the
sewer line out there?
The sewer line that would serve this area is, I believe, back at the intersection of Grays Lane and Victory. And so that's, quite a ways away from this, and a project this size would not be able to bear the financial cost to extend that. The Britannia Heights subdivision, they installed their own treatment system, so that septic systems were not involved. And their system is designed such that when the city does get out there, they can abandon their system and connect into the city's sewer.
Any guess on time frame of services getting out there?
That will really depend on the demand from the development community for properties in this area. And so at this point, this area is not one of the areas where we see a significant amount of pressure from the development community. So I would anticipate it'll be a while before that gets out there.
You have a follow-up question?
Nope, I'm good. That's it.
Sewer system. Across the way, they have their own on-site sewer system. And these people are choosing not to do that. Would that be purely a cost issue, you would think?
That would be a question for the applicant.
Is it, well, I'm asking you, is it a lot more expensive, or is it relatively the same, or?
Oh, no, it is significantly more expensive than installing septic systems.
Okay, but the city would prefer to have something like that because you wouldn't have 30 septic systems. At some point in time, they'd be all going down, and, okay, I answered my own question, thank you.
Like me in the streetlight.
With your help, of course. I couldn't have done it without you.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, I may be the only one feeling this way, but I've lived in septic systems, and I've lived in central systems, and I've lived in city systems, and I just can't see putting in septic systems. I mean, I would vote no on that issue alone. But that's just me. There's more of you than there is me.
Doug, can I ask you a couple questions since this is only our second pre-annexation? Sorry if these are dumb questions, but we talked about how we need to do, RS-22 is basically the least dense we can do. Why couldn't we do an RA zone?
So, Madam Chair, Commissioner Morgan, if we went to a very low-density residential zone. If you look at the comprehensive plan, that doesn't, in terms of future planning, it would, the densities would not be compatible with the proposed land uses in the area. So low-density residential is about as low that we can go in terms of the density numbers.
I mean, even though property right to the west of that would be very low density, wouldn't it?
Again, addressing it from the current future land use map, if we went any lower in density, the size, the lot size and the incompatibility would be, there'd be too much disparity between the two.
I guess I'm trying to square the disparity between the existing county property that's there and what the applicant is proposing.
Again, this is a future land use map
Right.
along in the future.
So because we would prefer in our comp plan to do low density residential, we can't do RA because that falls under very low density.
That's correct, yeah.
And we wouldn't want to change the comp plan to that because of your compatibility reasons.
Anyone have any other questions for Doug?
Maybe, sorry, a little slow. So what happens if we recommend denial to the county and they go ahead and approve it? Do we lose our opportunity to basically get the city standards in that subdivision?
So it's a little bit of a complicated question. If the city council denies the recommendation from the Board of Appraisers, as well as your recommendation this evening, the applicant would not be able to install, that he wouldn't have a city water connection, so the lot sizes would have to increase to the county standard, whatever that would be. I believe the R1 would be a minimum of a 1 acre lot size out there. And the recommendation from the city council is just that. The ultimate decision maker here is Canyon County.
Right, and I guess that's what my question was. If we say, we don't want this, the county could say we're fine with it, and then do all these interior streets and all these public streets no longer have to meet city engineering standards? Is that?
They certainly could do that.
Well, since I'm already talking, I'll keep talking. I feel like beginning of this year, we talked a lot about the city of impact area. And I felt like one of the opportunities of increasing the city of impact area was to give us some say in these county subdivisions and to protect the farmland. So to me, this kind of falls into that area where we have an opportunity to protect the farmland in Nampa. And, just encourage housing closer to town where we already have the services. It sounds like it's going to be a long time before services get out to this area. I'm concerned that we're not going to just lose the farmland that we're developing here. We're also going to impact the farmland that's neighboring it. Main concern is those nitrates, and it sounds like they've got a letter saying it's okay. Maybe it is. Those are my thoughts. Anybody?
I'll go. My concern is timing, really. We're looking at this area from a comprehensive plan standpoint coming up here relatively soon. Amity is just such a busy road. There's a lot of traffic on it, and I would be an advocate of preserving some land for commercial rather than just building a bunch of subdivisions out there, because then people have to drive a couple miles to shop at a gas station, and there's an opportunity to do something nice with a mixed use development, not saying it's all gonna go mixed use. And ag land, you know, we do have less and less land out there, but there is quite a bit further west and further south. It develops especially on thoroughfares first, so we're a growing city, and I think we also need to keep that in mind. My struggle with the application is the comprehensive plan amendment and the discussions we're having right now with the city on this particular area. I mean, 82 changes to a comp plan doesn't seem like that much, but it's quite a bit, and this is it's only a mile and 1.2 miles from the city limits, so those are just my thoughts.
Any other discussion?
Haven't heard from you yet, Peggy.
I can see both sides, so it's a hard decision, for sure. But I don't get a vote.
Well, if they would tie, you would.
Well, there's 5 of you.
Yes, there won't be a tie.
There won't be a tie.
Tom, what do you think?
It's kitty corner from Britannia Heights, so I kind of lean that way, but then, on the other hand, I'm kind of like with Ron too, that, we put this in now, who knows what Amity's gonna be like in 20 years, and do we need some more commercials, business property along Amity instead of another subdivision? So right now, at this time, I don't think the timing's great for it, so I'm leaning in favor of saying no.
I think I agree with, Amity is a major street. You drive around Nampa and look at what used to be major streets when I was a kid and what they look like right now. There's not commercial, and Ron's right, you do have to drive a ways to get places, especially for shopping and things like that. So are we encouraging that kind of growth that Nampa's famous for being bad at?
So you think if they came in with a application for commercial use, that everybody would be in favor of it?
I'm not saying that. I think we're having discussions at the city to revise the comprehensive plan right now, and I think it's just, let's gather our thoughts on how we want to see this area develop and then make plans. I do agree in the pre-annexation is a good avenue in some cases, in some applications, but I don't see another city encroaching on this area or a risk of that in the near future, so.
I guess I agree, and I just don't want to see us get too far ahead of ourselves. I mean, like we've said, take a deep breath, analyze, see, and let more people have the discussion.
Hopefully the comprehensive plan workshops are well attended, but historically that's not the case.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll move to recommend denial of the comprehensive plan amendment from community mixed use to low-density residential and pre-annexation and development agreement for Amity Estates County subdivision at 6823 East Amity Avenue for Alec Agurola, sorry if I messed that up, representing Wade Willers Amity Storage LLC, because the project fails to meet the following findings, that the area around the property under review for a comprehensive plan amendment is in flux, and it's not the right time to act on the application.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to recommend denial. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All righty. So we're gonna, it'll go to city council with our recommendation, but they could decide differently than us. So make sure you go to that council meeting. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break. Get back at it. We have a conditional use permit for a non-commercial kennel license for 3 dogs. We have the applicant here. Come on up. Give us your name and address for the record, and then tell us what you're here to do.
I'm Jessica Bruce, and I live at 725 Parkside Way.
Move the microphone up a little bit so we can hear you.
Jessica Bruce, and I live at 725 Parkside Way.
Okay.
I just want to keep my dogs. So I was told that in Nampa, you're only allowed to have 2, and my sister and I live together, and she has 1 and I have 2. And so I was told I had to get a conditional use permit to be able to keep all 3 of them.
Have you had any complaints about your dogs?
I had one neighbor. I have a big red shepherd, and she's like the friendliest dog and doesn't know what the word stranger is. I was edging my lawn, and she was out front with me and wandered off. The neighbor was eating breakfast on her patio and left her door open. She went to put her dishes away, and there's my dog looking for scraps. She just let herself into her house. So she admittedly, we talked, we kind of repaired that bridge privately, and admitted that she just has past trauma, and so she's terrified of dogs. And so she kind of just really overreacted in that moment, was scared. She called animal control, and I got notice that my dog was at large. But since then, I've talked with them, and they said as long as I'm within 6 feet and she recalls when she's fine. The problem was that I didn't recall her and that she let herself into someone's home.
Okay.
So that was a lesson learned. And so now when I go out, I have a lead that I put her on so she doesn't go too far. And we've repaired that bridge. So my neighbor's pretty okay with it now. I don't see her here tonight to say otherwise, so I think we're okay.
Okay. Well, we'll hear from staff.
Question.
Oh, okay.
Do you live in a townhouse?
It is, yeah, but it's in the middle of other single-family homes.
Where's there room for the dogs? Like, is there a backyard or a side yard or
There-
underneath the house or what?
So we walk them, between the 3 of us, we walk them 3 times a day. My sister works from home, so there's usually someone there with them. But there's a huge shared community area. It's actually,
They have to be taken there, and they can't get there by themselves.
correct. Or I have the lead that if I need to put them outside, I can put them on the lead. And we have our own little grassy area. But they also just installed in our neighborhood dog waste baskets, and there's a ton of dogs in the area. And that's part of our HOAs is that I think they help cover the costs of taking care of those disposal dog, I don't know what you call them, waste removal station. I don't know. And we go to the dog park a lot, so.
Thank you.
In your narrative, you talk about possibly bringing on more dogs.
Yeah, my sister was like, "Why are you putting it in there?" And I was like, "I don't know, cause I just put everything out there, cause I was excited about it." But it really has nothing to do with where we live now. That's like future dreams and hopes if we ever did find
at
a
new
commercial
location.
property.
I see that.
Yeah,
now.
not in our current location.
It's
It
right
wouldn't
over
work where we live now.
Agreed.
Okay. Well, we may have more questions after we hear from staff.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Commissioners, I'll make this pretty straightforward since we've seen this case multiple times for kennel license, non-commercial kennel licenses. This is a RS6 property, zone property surrounded by RS6 single-family homes. Here's an overview picture. This is a townhouse, 2-unit townhouse. There's a zoomed in photo there. A non-commercial kennel license is what's being requested. It would be for the dogs that live there, not for any other dogs that would be boarded. The conclusions of law for a conditional use permit needs to be compatible with and not adversely affect the livability of the abutting properties. And provide a functional community. The correspondence, animal control visited the property on a few occasions. That a detailed report is in the staff report. And then typical building correspondence, which doesn't necessarily apply. Comments were received from residents of the subdivision stating concerns due to the CC&Rs not permitting fencing comments about animals barking and not picking up the feces in the subdivision. These are the report from animal control. That's in the staff report. We can reference it if we need to, if you have questions. The subject property is in a single-family subdivision with mixed, detached, single-family homes. The applicant stated that they are currently, or were at one time, house sitting boarding through an online service called Rover. Just to provide some clarity, that would fall under a commercial kennel license, which is not an allowed use in the RS zone. So I think the applicant understands that that would be for a commercial aspect in another location. The commission would need to determine whether the proposed use of a non-commercial kennel would negatively impact the public and add any mitigating conditions to help mitigate those concerns. The recommended conditions are in the staff report. The dogs would need to be contained on site or on a leash to avoid further conflict with the adjacent residents, as well as keep a clean property. The potential motion is there for you, and I will stand for any questions.
I don't think we have any questions. Guess not. No, he forgot what his job was. You've been gone for a while, so. Okay, there's nobody listed to testify on this. Is there anybody here that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this proposal? Do we have any questions for the applicant to come back up here for?
I do. Just one quick one.
Come on up, we'll ask you a question or two.
Sounds like staff explained the boarding of the other ones, but you also stated that you occasionally bring home foster dogs from the Humane Society and to socialize them. Are you still doing that?
I would love to. If I can't, I would stop because we don't want to lose members of our family.
Yeah, my concern with the 3 dogs is already being in a townhome community where you don't have a lot of space between places and no fences either. If I was to approve it, I would put a stipulation on there that you couldn't do that anymore. It would be the 3 dogs and no more bringing anybody else's home, because that's a handful as it is with no fenced yard, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for her? Okay, thank you. I would entertain a motion to close public hearing. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Well, I'll make that. So I move to approve the conditional use permit for a non-commercial kennel license for the 3 dogs only in an RS6 residential zoning district at 725 Parkside Way for Rachel Nietzsche and Jessica Bruce. I was probably not even close, was I? With all conditions of the staff and conclusions of law, and like I say, that limited to just the 3 dogs and not bringing any more foster dogs home. I know it's a passion, but I just think you've got to limit it with what you got there already to keep neighbors happy.
Second.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the conditional use permit for a non-commercial kennel license for 3 dogs. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I gotta read my spiel to you. Okay. This CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the date of this hearing unless an appeal has been filed with the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken on the CUP until the appeal period has concluded. The applicant must confirm with Planning and Zoning staff there have been no appeals. So check in 15 days, and If they tell you you're good to go, then you're set unless you violate any of the conditions. All right? Thank you. Okay, the final public hearing tonight is for zoning map amendment for Sierra Meadows subdivision.
Commissioners, excuse me, Chairman, Commissioners, my name's David Crawford with Centurion Engineers. I'm here representing the owner of Sierra Meadows subdivision.
Can you give us your address, please?
55, there I go again. We just moved after many years. So it's 2323 South Vista Avenue, Boise, Idaho, Suite 206. We're pleased to present our proposal for Sierra Meadows subdivision. Is that loud? Is it just me? No. Okay. The staff has been very helpful and patient as we've had to redesign the project on several occasions to comply with the city conditions and to conform with some of the city engineering requests. And they've been very supportive of that. And we're here tonight to present our proposal for a 4-lot subdivision with 16 units. 16 total units and 4 structures. We believe that this, we're also asking for a rezoned RD. This is consistent with another project that is directly to the project's southwest boundary called Sugar Creek Townhome subdivision, which is Sugar Creek subdivision, which was just approved recently. This is similar in development styles. The project is adjacent to the existing city facilities, sanitary sewer, pressurized irrigation, and domestic water all exist within Sugar Street and can be extended in the development and serve the structures that are proposed. We have provided for several amenities to the development. One is a pergola that's shown on the landscape plan, and also a small dog park. We've also have an optional area, should in the future we be able to provide for storage units, bike storage, and potentially for garages that can serve the residences of Sierra Meadows subdivision. We believe that this will be an attractive asset to the city of Napa, and we believe that it will fit well within the neighborhood and certainly consistent with the other project that was recently approved. We've read the conditions of approval. We agree with all of them except for item number 2. And I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about that here tonight. This stems from the engineering report where we have access issues or proximity to 3rd Street South and Sugar Creek. We are less than 150 feet with our proposed access to that intersection. The one thing that I certainly noticed right away is that we have almost 2 acres of property. We got frontage on 2 streets and we have no access to them. That seems a little unreasonable. It should also be noted that we're also being required to do right-of-way dedications, put in 10-foot wide pathways along 3rd Street, and we're all okay with that. The interesting are the site features. We have 3rd Street was placed because it has a lower access point under a railroad bridge that's just a little bit southwest of here. So the road is artificially 4 to 6 feet lower from the property along 3rd Street than other properties would have. We also have access at the intersection. All of that intersection is built on this property. The right-of-way was never dedicated, but it exists, and that's common. So this city staff asked us to take a look at our alignment of our approach. So we adjusted that alignment of the approach so it intersects at a perpendicular angle to Sugar Street. And we've also asked, excuse me, we've also provided for a right-in, right-out access. We believe that that is that would reduce the left turn conflicts out on Sugar Street. We understand the desire to minimize access point and appreciate the safety concerns. However, we feel that we have provided a solution that minimizes those concerns and improves emergency access. It's one of the things that we really noticed, that I noticed right away, is we've got 80 units or so located within the Sugar Street townhomes, and we have approximately 16 units. One thing that I am concerned about is we normally hit a requirement when we reach 30 units to have fire department, secondary fire department access. Without having this access, there would be no secondary emergency access. We believe that that is critical to allow access for emergency vehicles. This will also be a benefit to the neighboring property. Since they don't have any secondary access point, that would be a benefit to them as well. It's not unusual in this type of situation where one subdivision is required to provide access to another, that there may be the potential for conflict. And, you know, we've had discussions with the neighboring representative and they've been cordial. We believe that an agreement could be reached, but if either party feels aggrieved in some way, it's not hard to see a situation that puts the competitive forces in play and put that agreement in jeopardy. Specifically, if the Sugar Street Townhome project is put on hold or never develops, or it develops in phases that never connects to our property, or at least for several years, then we don't have any access to our project, and it really puts leverage that is undue on this particular project. So to wrap this up, considering the burdens placed on this property, many of those burdens through no fault of its own, we respectfully request that the project is approved as shown. We feel our right in, right out cross access to Sugar Street proposal is a win-win. The developer of Sugar Street Townhomes has improved emergency services, and the developer of Sierra Meadows has access and can move forward independent of the Sugar Street Townhomes. Thank you again for your time, and I'll stand for any questions that you have.
Any questions at this time? Okay, we'll probably have questions after.
Thank you.
All right, Christy, they all abandoned you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. The request before you this evening is a recommendation for approval or denial of the rezone from RA to RD to provide for the preliminary plat for Sierra Meadows at 3 South Sugar Street. Property is located in the city limits and requires a rezone to accommodate this proposed development of fourplexes. The entire area is in the MDR designation, medium density residential, and is already zoned RD, except for a couple of these properties right here, Sugar Creek having just gone through the rezone process. The surrounding land uses are a mixture of single-family townhouses, apartments, and multifamily type buildings and single-family residences. So as you can see from this map, we've outlined all the various what would be considered multifamily or townhouse developments in the area, Sugar Creek being the one that just got approved. Covey Run is a fourplex development. Sunrise Meadows is an attached unit development with 3 and 4 units. Whispering Willows is townhouses, duplex style townhouses. 4th Street Townhomes has even larger structures, 4 units per, I believe, and they are divided into townhouses. So you can see that this area is already designated for this type of use. So in regards to the rezone, there are 5 criteria that you must find when making this decision. Staff has found that the property is in the medium density designation for the future land use map, and they are requesting RD zoning, which is consistent with that designation. The area around 3rd Street North and Sugar Street is already zoned RD, and the properties are used for this higher density housing. The property is completely surrounded by RD zoned properties. The property is in the MDR designation and would not thereby be a spot zone, should it be zoned RD. It's actually a spot zone as it sits, so this would be better. It is noted in the comprehensive plan that a variety of housing types and opportunities should be made available to the Nampa citizens. So based on this analysis, staff can reasonably recommend to the commission that a rezone be approved. So he went over the traffic concerns. I'm not going to read through engineering's memo. You have that in your staff report. He did a very good job of explaining it. They do respectfully propose the right-in, right-out access onto Sugar Avenue. I guess that's up to you and City Council to determine if you feel like that is appropriate. So on 1.83 acres, they are proposing 4 lots with 4 plexes. So that would be 16 total units. The gross density proposed for this development is 8.74 dwelling units per acre. And the parking proposed would be 32 spaces required, but they are proposing 45 spaces. So they do exceed. In regards to the plat in the RD zone, based on, this project has been in the queue for quite some time. So it kind of predates our code changes as far as our minimum and maximum densities and minimum and maximum lot sizes. So we're clear back to the old code, where we basically say for the first 2 units is 7,000 square feet, and then it's 3,500 for each unit above and beyond that. So the minimum lot size for each of these buildings would have to be 14,000 square feet. So the lot range here is 14,100 square feet to 19,860 square feet. So the plat is deemed compliant in that regard. There are no compatibility issues here because of the multifamily developments that are already in the area. The minimum property width should be 50 feet. These lots demonstrate that lot width and therefore are deemed compliant. And the parking code at the time would have been 2 per dwelling unit plus 80 spaces, ADA spaces as required by building code. This has 45 spaces and exceeds that. The applicant outlined the open space and amenities that will be provided, and they did submit a landscape plan that was approved by the city forester. So the infrastructure that's in the area, the city's water and sewer systems are adequate, and they will be required to install it to and through. The topography prevents the property from being fully served by a gravity sewer main in South Sugar Street, so the project may require a private pump station, and engineering will work through that with them. So city services that are located nearby, police station is 1.5 miles away, the fire station number 1 is 1.3 miles away, Park Ridge Elementary is 1.1 miles away, Endeavor Elementary is a half a mile away, which is within walking distance. East Valley Middle School is 3.2 miles away, and Columbia High School is 2.2 miles away. City Hall is 1.9 miles away, and the library is 1.4 miles away. The nearest park is Lakeview Park, and that is a mile. So we did receive comments from the building department. Parks Department did require the 10-foot wide side path along Sugar Street. Forester asked for the tree detail in the landscape plan that was provided and approved. Engineering had some addressing and some street naming issues. The Nampa Meridian Irrigation District asked that they go through their review process. The fire department stated that they have an 11-minute response time. And this was based on the 20 single-family homes, so this number will go down. But they are claiming that it would add approximately 60 residents with an increased demand of 0.06 firefighter positions. And then engineering did have some statements in their memo regarding access onto Sugar. Again, they're making a special request to be able to do the right-in, right-out. So these are the conditions of approval that are listed in your staff report. The one that is is shown in yellow here is the 10-foot wide side path along Sugar Street. I just inadvertently left that out, so if you could add that into your motion, that would be great. And here are your potential motions. I will stand for any questions.
Christie, the letter from Kyle Sales, can you address that?
So Commissioner
Who
Kehoe.
is he, first off? I didn't say what he is or who he is.
Kyle Sales is the developer of the Sugar Creek Townhomes to the southwest. They were required as a condition of approval to provide an area of access into this development, should they be able to come to an agreement. He asked that, you know, if they can't come to an agreement, if they could put a fence up. They were given permission to do that. But if they can come to an agreement, then they need to create access across that, so. That letter is dated, I believe, prior to the last interactions that they've had with the developer, and so I'm not, that may need to be updated.
You're okay with what the,
I am, because they agreed with the conditions of approval for the Sugar Creek Townhomes to provide access to this property. This property has reached out to Sugar Creek Townhomes to try to come to an agreement. Sugar Creek Townhomes has submitted a final plat for review, and so it is in with engineering right now to be reviewed. And I don't believe that unless they provide access, they're going to get approved construction drawings. So they're going to have to figure out how to work together.
okay. As long as we're aware of it, I guess.
Yep. I'm glad it was happening at the same time, because it made this a whole
Yeah,
lot
it
easier.
sure makes it easier to resolve, I would
Yep.
think. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have David Crawford is for, yay. And Anna Canning. And you don't wish to speak, but we got you on the record for it. Is anybody else here that would like to speak for, against, or undecided?
Christie, I got a quick question for you on that agreement. Because they do have a concern that if they can't come to an agreement, if they do, is there anything we can put in there to stipulate that if they come to an agreement, they have to make that road access all the way to the edge of the property line so these guys can get started and not get held up by these guys? So they can't, you know, they can stop their road 100 feet short and then landlock these guys to where they can't do anything with theirs?
It's been a while. So, Madam Chair, Commissioner Turner, we would have to go back and look at the final plat for the other development and see what they are proposing. You know, we do allow plats to go within phases. Christie, do you remember if it was just a single final plat?
Just one.
Yeah, and so with that being the case, we could certainly, if we haven't issued comments on the Sugar Creek Townhomes yet, we could certainly put that in as a condition of their approval of their final plat. Caleb, the Assistant City Engineer, has reached out to both parties to schedule a meeting with the city present. As we read the approval condition that we put on the Sugar Creek Townhomes, it is more of a you shall provide access, not a, you know, you can provide access. And so we will be having those discussions. We're working on setting up that meeting internally with both parties and engineering to have that discussion of how we can accomplish this and provide for a safe access to the property. The discussion of the emergency access, generally speaking, with single-family homes, the number is 29 units. With apartments, it's typically 100 units require secondary access. And so we would have to look at that to see how that all works. I think from engineering's perspective, if there is no access from other properties, this is probably the best we can possibly get, what they've proposed. If you are inclined to approve, I would recommend that we have a condition that if the other access is accomplished and done, that the proposed access here become an emergency in and out. and be closed off to be just an emergency access.
And so it sounds like engineering doesn't want the right in, right out that close to the intersection.
Honestly, we'd like to see no approach that close to the intersection. We do recognize the challenges that the property configuration is, as well as the site characteristics of that road of Third going down to the railroad tracks. Definitely, there are issues there that don't make that an ideal location for access either. And we recognize that this is probably, given this property standalone, what they are proposing is the best we're gonna be able to do.
And if we did approve it with the right in, right out only, could we stipulate that they put an island on Sugar so people couldn't come out and make a left?
There are other approaches there that make that a little bit problematic. And that's part of the reason we are not as thrilled about it, because if we do put a median, it has the significant potential to affect not only this property, but other properties there to the south and across the street.
Yeah, because I don't remember how far down that other entrance is.
So that's where I would be more comfortable with the condition that if it is approved in that manner, that at such time as the other access is accomplished, that this one becomes emergency access only and is used as such.
Any other questions for staff? I'd entertain a motion to close public. Did you have more you wanted to say?
I don't want to let it go before the public hearing closes, so definitely will stand for any questions. Appreciate the discussion that's been going on. As the representative of the property owner, I can't stress enough how incredibly important it is for this access for the property. The leverage the other property has to control our destiny is just, it's overbearing. There was almost a $600,000 bill in the initial email that they were talking about. That puts this development at risk of not being fundable. Now, not saying that's where we'll end up, and potentially that can work out. We're definitely willing to do it. We've had discussions with them and there was no animosity. So, however, I know how development goes. I've been around a while, and some people can get pretty creative. I'm not saying they will, but if we have to cross that bridge, then we end up in litigation. We have to contact the city. You know, we're asking for help, and it just starts kicking the can down the road. It puts this property at a severe disadvantage, and it would be a really unusual case for an existing piece of property to have no access on two roads. I can't think of another time where a property's been landlocked and required to have access through another. So there's approximately, I think, 600 feet, 400 to 600 feet before we south on Sugar Street, before we get to that approach. Then the entrance provided through Sugar Creek Townhomes. And then it's another 800 feet to get into the back of this one. So approximately. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. And I'll stand for any questions you have.
I got one more for Daniel really quick. Did you say you've already got the meeting set up between the two developers?
Caleb is working on scheduling that. I do not believe we have a date yet. I would anticipate that meeting would happen prior to city council.
So Christie, if we were to postpone this until after that meeting and we find out how that transpires at that meeting, could we do that so we don't have to vote on this now until we see how this meeting could go?
She put that condition in there. So that pretty much addresses that.
I would rather not do the access off of Sugar at that close, because that's just gonna be nothing but a rear end daily accident. If we can get the developers to work out an agreement that both sides are agreeable to, I'd rather postpone the vote until after. I know you guys want to get started, and I understand you not want to be landlocked, but I can see that close to that intersection, that's just constant wreck. And if we can't block them off from turning left coming out of there, you know everybody and their brother's gonna be turning left, and there's people coming around the corner from the other side, you're just looking for accidents daily. So I would rather wait if we can work out an agreement, have it in writing, and, attached to the properties that can't be blocked or anything else. And
So, can I jump in for a sec? So I would say that we can't deny access from a property. So if there isn't an agreement, this would be that we've mitigated it to the extent practicable. And so I would say with the condition that if they are able to do the other, that this becomes an emergency access only. That protects us in both situations. Whether we've mitigated it as much as we possibly can. If we aren't able to get that, it's mitigated as much as we can. If we are, it's able to block that off and become emergency access, and it improves the situation. So I guess that's from the engineering standpoint and an access management standpoint. I'm comfortable with the addition of that condition. It's not perfect, but it is the best I think we can accomplish, and we will work with both developers to get it worked out based on the conditions that were placed on the other development.
So Daniel, if we are okay with the proposed access, the right turn thing, why can't we just, and they do come to agreement, why couldn't we just leave it as a secondary access? Why does it need to be closed off and become emergency?
So we would look at it because it's not compliant with our policy, and there are safety concerns that are there. So if we can make that just an emergency access only, that eliminates those safety concerns. The other option would be that they would not oppose changing it to an emergency access if deemed necessary by the engineering department. That way, it could be left, and then if there was an accident problem that became apparent based on data, we could close it at that point.
Are you
That
worried
would
about
be
people
another
like
option.
cutting through there, or what do you?
We're worried about the entrance that close to the intersection where you have a four-way stop there and you have people making maneuvers and coming there, whether they're turning right or left from the intersection, and you have vehicles coming out that close to the intersection, that creates conflict points that are likely to create accidents.
Okay, well, I understand the problem. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. So let me catch up. So we're saying if we don't allow this access, the only way to get into the property is with access through Sugar Creek.
Yes.
And you're saying we don't know if that's going to happen, so maybe we allow them to do this. Not ideal, but best we can do access. But maybe they come to an agreement, and if they do, then that access through Sugar Creek would become emergency only.
No, the access on Sugar would become emergency
Got it.
only.
Okay, sorry, I'm so slow. I got it. Thanks, Daniel, for your patience.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to close public testimony.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Did you add item 3? Wasn't it just item 2 before?
Yes, I
She
added
added-
this one based on this conversation.
Oh, okay.
So that you don't have to try to make it up.
Okay.
she was reading my mind. Didn't take long, did it?
I think that's a good compromise. Sorry.
Yeah, I think so too. If the other party works,
And this way they can use this temporary access, if it's temporary, to at least do their construction and get going and then, okay.
hopefully the other people will
I'm good with that.
be good with all that.
Okay,
Okay, Tom, it's your turn.
Okay, I'll move to approve the zoning map amendment from RA to RD zoning district and subdivision preliminary plat for Sierra Meadows subdivision, including 16 multifamily units and 4 fourplex buildings at 3 South Sugar Street for David Crawford, representing Robert Carroll, with all conditions listed in the staff report, including items 2 and 3. Need anything else on that?
Well, I was gonna say, should we say conditions on the presentation rather than in the report, or is this the report?
Okay. 2 and 3 listed in the presentation. It's 2 and 3 listed in the presentation.
I'll second.
been moved and seconded to approve on the zoning map amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, and that concludes our meeting for tonight.